too. I'm pro hoe. I love Sydney Star. I'm a hoe. I'm a pro hoe. And speaking of Sydney Star, and I'm gonna help you, Mother Laverne. I'm gonna give you a lifeline. I have fucked many of MAGA men, but I did it for money. So my coochie's a little more ethical than yours. So people have to, they have to let me slide on that one.
Back to the panel. After Quayton is kind of cutting off Deshawn, let's get back there because I've been all over the place. After Quayton cuts off Deshawn a few times, Deshawn finally gets to their question. Deshawn is like, hey, let's talk about desire. I want to talk about desire because Laverne, in my opinion, this is Deshawn. Laverne, in my opinion, I think that you were a victim. He lied to you. This MAGA ex-cop guy initially lied to you. You just told us how he didn't tell you everything about him, and then you found out later he lied to you, and you got feelings, and you fell in love. But let's really explore those feelings because you're trying to make excuses. Deshawn's approach was like, look, you're making excuses. You desire a buff, beautiful white man. Just say it. But, I don't care about that. I want us to talk about our desires. Granted, Deshawn actually brought up a real question that no one else on that panel really brought up questions, in my opinion. People were like, well, why did you do it, or how did it happen, and what were those conversations like? Those are valid questions, but it just felt like everyone... Deshawn brought up a great question of desire. Now, I don't know Deshawn's work. This is my first time ever meeting Deshawn. Not meeting him, sorry. Watching Deshawn, watching Deshawn, on this panel. I've watched a few episodes of Olay and Friends. I may have seen Deshawn, but I wasn't aware of Deshawn's work. I didn't know that Deshawn was a scholar, this world-renowned scholar who has an amazing book out. And, they're like a G in the streets as far as education and scholar theory goes. Black, gender theory, critical race theory, the notions of gender, all these different things. I'm just saying what I think their work is in the realm of due to my little limited research that I've done on Deshawn. So Deshawn posed a great question. Some more riff-raff happened with Quayton constantly interrupting Deshawn. And then Dominique was like, yo, can we go back to this? Because I really want you to dig deeper because you were going somewhere. Deshawn went back to it, digging deeper, really taking their time to really explain the notions of desire and how essentially we all see certain images, we all see certain things, and that plays a part into the social programming that all of us face as humans. But Deshawn's point, in my opinion, was strictly like, as Black people, we also have to question where we get our desires from, because some of us, we desire all these things. And Laverne, you can't tell me that you didn't have any other options. Like, you are a famous Black trans woman. You're in New York City. You're in LA. Baby, you're over here at Fashion Week. You're wearing Mugler every day. You have the life, honey. You're one of the Hollywood it girls, especially for the trans girls. These other trans girls, they want to be where Laverne is. No shade. That's why Laverne is put on such a high pedestal, right? So Deshawn was kind of like, I'm not buying that you just didn't have any other options. You keep saying you didn't have no options and you were 48. I'm not buying it. We're good. That's basically what happened. Deshawn explains the notions of desire. Go watch it. I thought it was great. Took Deshawn a while to land the plane because, Quayton kept interrupting them. Now, I'm going to fast forward. We get to Kat Black's take. We get to Hope Giselle's take. We get to Dominique's take. Dominique was more graceful. Dominique was like, hey, I can understand how she kind of got here. It's difficult dating. This is me paraphrasing kind of what, I can remember of what Dominique said. I can see how she got here. Now, Dominique did share that she didn't used to date, Black men because she's from Omaha, Nebraska, and how she just never dated Black men. She had this thing with Black men, but when she moved to Atlanta, she started to get more comfortable in her Blackness and, started to kind of date more Black men and, kind of learned how to challenge those things within herself. Kat Black is from Southern California. Kat Black, I believe, is from Orange County. I've been watching Kat Black for years. I just started watching Dominique Morgan, to be honest with you. I've grown to really, really like her. I've heard of her, but I just didn't start watching her until recently, like actually digesting Dominique by herself. So I don't know, like, all of Dominique's backstory. I know she works closely with T.S. Madison. Cat Black, on the other hand, is someone who I have watched. I've been watching Cat Black since I was a freshman at UCLA in college, literally. So I feel like, and Cat Black is only 34, I'm only 32, so I kind of feel like I grew up with Cat Black in some ways. I've been watching Diamond Styles, who wasn't on the panel. I've been watching Diamond Styles since I was like 14 years old, right? So I've been watching Diamond Styles literally since like 2010, 2009. Oh my God, I'm over here telling my age. But anyways, back to Cat Black. Cat Black comes from Southern California, and Cat Black used to solely date white men. She does do a lot of interracial dating. Cat Black has always talked about her difficulties with dating black men. But Cat Black, you know, she comes from like a conservative background. She grew up in a white neighborhood and all that. She's not the typical, I don't want to say typical, but she's not the black trans girl who comes from the hood or come from the streets or nothing like that. She came from a different life, grew up around white people. She understands that fine dance that black people often have to do with white people. So on the panel, Dominique and Cat Black were sort of relating to Laverne and kind of giving her more grace in the sense of like, okay, we could see how you got here. We don't agree with this. We don't agree with it. We're just saying that we can understand. So we're not going to like bash you too much because we get it. Now, Cat Black did hold Laverne accountable in a way of like, look, you have rooms to grow. This is how I grew. This is why I don't put those white men on a pedestal. And Cat Black is polyamorous. She got like 3 white boyfriends and 1 Mexican Palestinian boyfriend. So she got 4 partners. But Cat Black has done this work within herself of like, look, you got to stop thinking that these white men, girl, are always going to be the best choice for you, or they're not going to, they're not going to do you wrong. You know, yes, I get that you've had situations with black men and all that, but you gotta figure out this thinking here, because this thinking got you messing with a MAGA ex-cop, girl. He's aligned with the system, right? So Cat Black held her accountable in that way. Hope Giselle lit her up. Hope Giselle was like, you're old. I can't deal with this, girl. And Hope Giselle was clearly agitated. Hope Giselle got emotional. She started crying. Now, a lot of people always feel that Hope Giselle is performative. But in this moment when I watched it, and sometimes I might even feel that she might be performative, but here's the thing about it. I'm looking at Hope Giselle's blackness as well. And for me, because I actually interviewed Hope Giselle earlier this year and I got to meet her in person, and she was sweet. Like, she was super nice. We met at this GLAAD red carpet that I did. It was for the GLAAD Media Awards. It was like a pre-red carpet. It wasn't the official red carpet of the show. It was like one of their pre-ones. But I got to meet Hope Giselle, and I'm not going to hold you. I did have kind of my thoughts about her. Like, I was kind of like, she a little performative. I don't know. But when I met her in person, she was cool. Like, she was so down to earth. She was so sweet. She was really honest, really thoughtful, really smart. So when I got to meet her, she didn't come across as performative, but that's meeting a person in person. When you actually see their work online, there is an element of performance that comes with it. You do have to get people's attention. Now, Hope Giselle, let's get back to the panel. And by the way, I hope what I'm saying is not disrespectful, because, I admire, I don't know Quayton's work, but everybody else, and I don't know Deshawn's work as well, but everyone else on the panel, I do have like an admiration for them. Deshawn, I'm just knowing who Deshawn is, and we'll get to Deshawn in a second, because Deshawn said some things after that and on their live, and I was like, oh, I don't agree with that. But I see why Deshawn said it. Anyways, back to Hope. Hope basically just took the moment to really do what the panel, I guess, was supposed to do, which was hold Laverne accountable for her love life and her choices in her love life. Go watch it. But Hope was like, look, at the end of the day, no matter what you say, you just can't get me to believe that you just didn't have any other choices. You made a choice to, even if that man didn't tell you, you still made an active choice to be in relationship with this ex-MAGA Republican, ex-cop / MAGA, who is still MAGA today. He's still a MAGA person today. Person, right? You chose to love on this white man because of his looks and because of his whiteness and because of you wanting that fairy tale girl. Just say that you chose that. Stop beating around the bush and just say it. You're beating around the bush a lot. Laverne's perspective was, look, I don't talk to him anymore. This was her response. I don't talk to him anymore. He's blocked. He provided me love at that time. So regardless of what you all say, I still know and felt in my heart that I was in love. Yes, he was problematic. Hope started holding her accountable of like, hey, but you're fawning over him, and you need to think about who you are. Because at the end of the day, this is Hope, right? Talking to Laverne. You are our possibility model. You are one of the trans women outside of T.S. Madison and the other ones. Because there's other ones too. We always like to say there's only two. There's other ones, right? There are other Black trans women like Isis King, like MJ Rodriguez, like, Angelica Ross. I know some people have their thoughts about Angelica Ross, and some don't care for her. I'm going to keep this comment to myself. Angelica, I can see why people have their things with her too. I could see why. By the way, I don't know Angelica personally, right? These are just things I've heard in the streets in regards to Angelica Ross, where it's kind of like, But at the end of the day, when it comes to doing the work, Angelica, I do think she still has this intention of doing the work. So she might not be the best. And she may have rubbed a lot of people away, right? A lot of people. She has rubbed a lot of people away, Angelica. But I'm all over the place. Back to Hope Giselle. I hope you're following. With Hope Giselle, she just took the moment to basically hold Laverne accountable. And she got emotional, and she was just like, look, like, you're disappointing me because I really looked up to you. Like, you were one of those girls that I looked up to and that a lot of people look up to. So you just have to think about the stuff that you do. Granted, Quayton kept promoting herself. I'm going to be real with you. I don't even remember what Quayton said. I just think Quayton Quayton came here to go viral. And that's clearly what has happened at this point, a week later. Okay, Quayton has gotten a lot of attention in regards to this panel. So that's my brief summary of it. Now let's get to my thoughts. I thought that Quayton was a mess. I thought that Quayton was rude. I thought that Quayton should have never been on the panel. I thought that Deshawn had a lot of restraint. I wish Deshawn could have said more earlier. I wish that, but Deshawn still held her own. I think Deshawn did a good job. Now, Deshawn, after this, when I went and watched Deshawn's live, that's where I kind of had an issue with some of the things Deshawn said, but I understand what Deshawn said, as they are ungendered. They don't have a gender. And a lot of their stuff that they said on their IG live after this Olay and Friends came out, they went on IG live like a day or 2 days later, because I watched it. And Deshawn was basically upset with Quayton and also Hope Giselle, because Hope Giselle was the first one who was making video after video after video after video after video after video after video. And Hope Giselle was just explaining why Quayton had an issue or got triggered by Deshawn. Now, if you watch the panel, you would see, I kind of saw why they were bumping heads. When Quayton first cut off Deshawn ignored it. The second time, I think Deshawn ignored it. The third time, Deshawn called it out and basically said, yo, like, you're being kind of rude. I'm gonna need you to stop. Your energy is a lot. You're doing too much. You just are doing too much, and I can't function with that, so I'm gonna need you to get it together. Quayton was like, oh, I see why I trigger you. And she says something along the lines of like, oh, you're non-binary. That explains it. So I see why I trigger you. Right then and there, you could blatantly see the tension between the two. Now, as a trans woman who is considered a binary trans woman, that dynamic between both of them triggered me so much. And I think it triggered Hope Giselle as well, because although Hope Giselle, they say that she's a clout chaser and all these things, when I was watching Hope Giselle's lives, and I'm not trying to defend her, by the way, by me saying this, I'm not trying to defend her. I don't know her personally. I interviewed her one time. I'm not like a fan of any of these people. I'm not like a fan. I admire some of them, but I'm not like a big fan of any of them. But I admire most of them outside of Quayton. I admire them and what they contribute. You know what I mean? Because I do feel like all of these voices were needed, except Quayton. I don't see why she was there. I think they brought her there because she was probably the youngest one or whatever. So there was some good intention in bringing her there. I just think that, Quayton's, they said that she's a comedian now, or she is a comedian and a filmmaker. So, they wanted her to bring, I guess, I don't know why she was there, but I think having her there really took away from the moment that we all could have had as viewers. Even the people in the community and the people outside of the community, we all could have had such a phenomenal panel if it wasn't for Quayton. If it wasn't for Quayton. Because even Hope Giselle was on her best behavior to me. You know, Hope Giselle had a few moments, but Hope Giselle still, in my opinion, kept it real and, you know, just said what she has to say. But, you know, a lot of people expected Hope Giselle to kind of be like, you know, all over the place. And in my opinion, I thought she held her own. Anyways, let's go back to the aftermath. Hope Giselle started going on live and started just explaining to all the fans or all the viewers her take of things and why Quayton may have had tension with Deshaun. And basically saying around the lines, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically due to how Deshaun looks, you know, Quayton thought that Deshaun was a trans man and thought that, you know, Quayton thought that Deshaun was a trans man and didn't really belong in that space. And that's basically what Hope Giselle was trying to say. And then Hope Giselle gave her personal opinion of like, yo, I don't think Deshaun should have been there either. Because this was a moment, we have a black trans woman here, and then you're here bringing up desire, and it just kind of doesn't really, like, I see where you're going with that, and I respect what you're saying. This is what Hope was saying all her life. Hope was like, I respect you, I just don't know if you were supposed to be there. Deshaun got offended by that. Deshaun, basically, Hope Giselle kept posting all these videos, and Hope Giselle basically kept explaining why she felt like Deshaun shouldn't be there, and basically it was because of how Deshaun looks, and how although people know that Deshaun is ungendered, people still see a gender regardless of that. So basically Hope's point on her lives, all of her lives, was this is why this happened. Maybe Deshaun was not supposed to be there. That triggered Deshaun even more because Deshaun took that as, oh, you're over here trying to defend Quayton and now you're over here misgendering me and you're over here erasing me and telling me how I look to the world, so now I'm gonna come at you. So that's basically what I took it, because Deshaun got on their live and basically was like beating their chest. I'm a scholar, I've been doing this, y'all not really doing this, y'all all trying to be celebrities, I'm not a celebrity. Deshaun had, I guess it was their lover or their friend, I don't know who it was on the live. This is what I had an issue with. I could see where Hope Giselle may have made some mistakes, but when I watched all of Hope Giselle's lives, and I'm not trying to defend her. Once again, I don't know this lady, okay? I don't know these people in real life. I don't. I just follow them and they contribute to the conversation. They're in the community. You know, this is something that's getting us going. To me, I felt like Hope Giselle was just saying the optics of it. And I think that Deshaun was already irritated with Quayton and already knew that Hope Giselle and Quayton were, you know, keying off record. So regardless of whatever Hope Giselle said, Quayton was like, both of y'all are being shady. Sorry, Deshaun was like, you know, both of y'all are kind of being shady and y'all trying to play with me. So let's just really talk about it. Like, the trans girls, y'all problematic. All the trans girls are an issue with me. They always have an issue with me. In Deshaun's live, he started naming girls. He said that he blatantly has dealt with disrespect from Hope Giselle, Angelica Ross, and it was a third girl. I forgot the third trans girl, but it was a third prominent one that Deshaun did name, if my memory is correct, because I watched their whole live. And Deshaun was just basically saying how black trans women, or trans women in general, tends to be very problematic towards ungendered or non-binary people. So that's another part of this conversation. And then Deshaun just started listing all their accolades and popping their stuff, saying how they're a true Marxist, saying how they're an actual scholar, and basically saying how all the dolls on the panel are just trying to be celebrities and they ain't really doing as much work as Deshaun is doing. That's what I have an issue with. I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to say it here on YouTube. I had an issue with that because in my opinion, I felt like, okay, Deshaun, you're established. That's fine. But at the end of the day, everyone on that panel outside of Quayton is a voice, right? There's an element of needing to appeal to the public in general, even if you're a scholar. So for me, when I watched Deshaun's live, I agreed with a lot of what Deshaun was saying, but to kind of like get on here and take some swings and take some shade back at the trans girls, I just felt like that was a bit much, and I felt like, frankly, it was disrespectful. There was one thing that Deshaun's friend said, something around the lines of, at the end of the day, it was something around the lines that both of them said on that live, where basically at the end of the day, if people want to misgender or not respect Deshaun's gender, y'all are trans women. So at the end of the day, if you're saying that, you know, basically by you transitioning, you're non-binary. Basically, you as a trans woman, you transitioned and you're trying your best to fit into this binary that's not real anyway. And basically, that makes us talk about the borders. You all are trying to protect the borders of gender. You all are basically a problem because yes, you transition, but you're trying to be. If you want to talk about how I'm not a gender or how I'm not a man or all these things or whatever, or how people see me as a man, let's talk about y'all. And I'm paraphrasing here from what I can remember, because I hope I don't get dragged from this video, but people might. I don't think people will see this because I don't have a high profile, so they don't care about me, right? But if I do get dragged, basically on that live, both Deshaun and their friend, or whoever they are, said something around the lines of, basically, binary people are problematic. You all are problematic, and we're not, because we're scholars. Deshaun does the work. Hope Giselle is not really doing the work. Hope Giselle just wants to be famous. Dominique Morgan just wants to be famous. All of those other girls on the panel, they just want to be famous. But us, we're Marxists. And we're really about, Black power. And, we're really about it. Those other ones aren't about it. I had an issue with that. And for me, I just felt like that made it unproductive. I'm not saying Hope Giselle didn't make her mistakes. And don't take this as a defense of Hope Giselle. When it got to that level, I was like, okay, Deshaun, defend yourself. But at the end of the day, both of y'all making these lives of shit it's not productive, bruh. Like, just call each other on the phone, hash out your differences, come back for a part 2. Save all of this for a part 2, right? So for me, it's like, Deshaun is saying how they want to be celebrities, and I'm like, you went on live, girl. You having your moment too, so don't be trying to call people out. Like, I don't know, it just felt kind of weird to me, but I totally understand what Deshaun was saying. But what I don't agree with this whole thing of like, binary people are essentially, problematic. Binary trans people tend to basically be problematic, and basically by participating in gender, you're problematic too, like you're a part of the problem. That was basically the tone of what I saw on Deshaun's live. If you watched it, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to disrespect the non-binary community or anything like that. But I do feel like the non-binary community, they do be carrying with the trans girls sometimes. And it comes to this place of like, I'm seeing a lot of like non-binary people, not seeing a lot of, but I've been hearing tones of this for the last like few years, of non-binary people or ungendered people or people with no gender, making it a point to come after binary trans women in specific and basically say like, hey, you're not really real, and what you did is, I don't have to do that, and I'm more trans than you, or I'm more of an activist than you. That's just what I've been seeing. I've been hearing a lot of that. So I don't know if that was Deshaun's intention. I don't think Deshaun even cares, because Deshaun felt so offended. Feel offended, that's fine. But I just think it's so unproductive. And I just think that it plays into this disconnect that already exists between non-binary people and binary trans people. That does exist. I don't know. So that, I'm gonna be honest with you, after I watched all their lives, I also saw Dominique Morgan's content as well. I think all of it just triggered everybody. I think everyone walked away being triggered. But the good thing about that conversation is that at least it was honest and at least it was open. I hope that they bring us a part 2. I hope that they bring us a part 2. We have to have a part 2 from that. So I just hope that although all of them may have left a bad taste in each other's mouths, bring them all back. Do not bring Quayton back, because Quayton literally took away from such an important conversation that I think a lot of people just needed to see. I think a lot of people needed to see this. Bring another person back. Bring Diamond Styles, or bring Olay, bring somebody, and make questions. Olay, because Olay has been getting a lot of backlash for this, right? Make questions. I get that you feel like it's not your space, but it's your show, okay? Yes, it's not your space to be in this, but I do feel like Olay could have just made questions to guide the conversation. So I know Olay has her feelings about that. I've been seeing her being her, she's been kind of going off on everybody like, look, it's a podcast. Like, I saw on Threads this morning, she was like, hey, it's a podcast. Y'all get off of me. Like, this is supposed to be a free-for-all. It's not supposed to be the structured thing. But I do think this conversation needed structure. That's just what it needed. I know you don't want the pressure of that. I know you feel like it's not your place, but it needed that. It needed structure. Dominique said it. Hope said it. I know Deshaun is like, hey, I'm a part of the show. This is how it goes. But I do think, I don't know, I just think that having all these names here, not to say that Olay hasn't had other names before, but I just think for this conversation, there needed to be a clear driver. There needed to be someone saying, this is where we going. We all don't have to agree, but here are the questions. I need people to tell me their opinion. I need her to say what she got to say. Let's actually get something out of this. So for me, my hope is that they bring a part 2. Would I ever date a MAGA person? No, I will not. Yeah, I would never do that, right? But that's just my personal thing. Laverne is defending this man. Laverne is like, we were in love. Laverne does not care, right? But Laverne, I do commend her for facing the community head on and coming like, hey, let the people take a whack at me. Let's go. Because y'all are mad. So, you know, this is a part of my PR. Let me go ahead and take my public bashing here. It helps my celebrity, right? Not saying that Laverne isn't genuine, though. Because I do think Laverne is still real for that. I do. I do think Laverne is real. But what I want to say to everybody, I don't care who celebrity is or whatever, don't put anyone on a pedestal because of their identity or if they're a public figure. It doesn't matter. Because none of us are perfect. And I'm not trying to defend Laverne. I'm just saying, like, none of us are perfect. Nobody is. There are so many people who make crazy decisions and you be like, why did you make that decision? Oh my God. Don't ever put your personal stuff into a public figure. Don't ever do it. I don't care if they're an activist. I don't care if they're the world's best activist, best celebrity, first black trans. I don't care who they is. Look at them for what they are. Not saying she's a bad person, but I think we're so not used to having stuff to where when we see one of us who have stuff, we put our all into them. And we just, you can't operate like that. You gotta stop idolizing these people. They are human. All right? So I know this video was all over the place. Is there anything that I forgot to say? I think I pretty much hit on all my points. Now, I know this video was all over the place. I apologize for that. I'm going to chop it up into 2 pieces and upload both of them. And I hope you watch it because I'm not editing anything. So I'm not going to edit. I'm just going to post it online and let you all dissect it. I'm going to give you a part 1 and a part 2. Yeah, but once again, I know my mind was jumbled, but the only way, my mind and my statements were jumbled, right? But the only way that you would understand what I'm saying is if you actually watch the full panel. Okay, if you can make it through it, because it was triggering at some points. Like with Quake during the paper bag test and with Deshaun saying that Laverne Cox was light-skinned, I don't think that Laverne is a light-skinned black woman. I think she just wears a lot of makeup, okay? But I've heard that they're saying online that she lightens her skin. I don't know if that's true or not. I ain't trying to be messy. I don't know any of these people personally, right? I just follow their work and that's that. So that's my opinion on it. Drop down below and let me know what your opinion is of Olay and Friends, and let me know your thoughts about this. And make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching. Take care.